Radial symmetry. Today we're going to explore making designs with symmetry that goes in 4 directions. So if you look at the designs that you see here, you'll see that the designs are the same from top to bottom to side to side. And if I spin it, it's still the same. So no matter which way and which direction it is held, it has symmetry that goes in all directions. So we call this radial symmetry. It's a lot of fun to do, and it can be something that you do forever anytime you're doodling. So we start out with a circle. So you can just trace any object that you have that's a circle, a glass, whatever is convenient. And then we have to do our math. With this, we have to divide the circle. So we take our time and split the circle in half. I sketched these lines out because I'd like them to be nice and light. They don't even have to be part of the design. And then I tilt my paper and find the center and then go in the next direction. My next set of lines has to crisscross the first cross. So I go to the center to start. Then I can find my halfway point of that section. And then I go to the center again and I split this section in half. So now I've got some sketchy lines that show my circle that's now divided into 8 equal parts. Now, each design that I make needs to be anchored onto one of these lines in 4s so that I know that they are going to connect. So later, right now I'm going to mark with a little V these 4 lines so that I can keep my focus that these lines are different than those lines. If it helps you out, you can mark with an O the opposite line so that you can see the difference between your O and your V line. Now we're going to start the designs. When I use letters, I can make designs turn out fantastically. So I'm going to start with my letter V. I'm going to make my letter V over here so that you can see that this is my answer key. And I'm going to start my first letter V, and I'll just do it on my V line since it's right here. And I'm going to sketch out my first letter V, hitting the point of this line. So it's anchored to this line. It also touches those lines. Then I'm going to make my V going this way. So I'm going to spin my paper. I spin the paper so that I'm always in a direction that's comfortable. Spin it again. And if you're comfortable and you don't have to spin it, well, then you don't have to spin it. But I always feel like if I'm comfortable going in one direction, it's kind of uncomfortable to draw upside down. All right, so now I've got my first design. And I've made a star using just a bunch of V's. Now I could continue. I could do this on all 8 lines and have a star on the outside points, but I want to change it up a little bit differently because we're artists and we like to change things. I'm going to make another V, but I'm going to make a short V on this one. So I'm going to make a dot here halfway on that spot, and I'm going to make my V a little wider. So now my star has got a star in a background. And there are no rules. So if you're trying to copy what I'm doing, you can try, but it's not necessary because that's what makes it amazing. It's like a snowflake. We don't need to have any two alike. Now I can start some more design. So I've done V, and I just feel like we should have a berry on the end of this. So we're going to add O to our collection of letters on the answer key. And then I'm going to also add some L's by going down, and I'm going to repeat. Whenever I repeat, I feel like it looks like a crystal, like a snowflake that has crystallized. And that's a nice little touch. But I can go further, and I can add some more lines. So I've got to think on what I feel like doing. And if I like those train tracks, I could do some more of them. I could put some stripes just going right through there. So I'm trying to add interest to the design that I've already done by making it a little bit more detailed. I could even put another V inside of this V and make the star look like it has even more detail to it. And I might also want to mention to you that if you did the same assignment with marker and no pencil at all except for the crisscross, you could really come up with some very colorful kaleidoscope-like designs. So I highly recommend, after you've gotten the hang of it, to try it with marker, and color will add another dimension. Now I've got a lot of empty space here, so I want to do something else with it too. And I'm going to go to my good old favorite, which is letter J. So I'm going to put my letter J over here, and I've got to make a J backwards to make it resemble the same ones, and I'm going to swirl that J to a spiral. Oh, I like that. Now I'm going to go and do another one, and then another one. And now I've got to do it on all four sides, so I'm going to flip my paper around and around. So now this design, with using V as my base, gives me a design that looks like a star. And there's one more way of doing your radial symmetry that can give you a design pattern that looks more like a flower. So I'm going to share with you those. And the ones that I'm doing are very, very simple, just because we're getting started and we haven't gone any further. So I'm making my designs easy and they're done quickly. I could really fill my whole paper up with designs. So once you get good at it, you can let the designs get larger and more detailed, and you can really have a lot of fun. I find that myself, when I'm bored, I doodle, and a lot of times I end up doodling these radial symmetry designs because they're just so fun to do, and you don't really have to have ideas. It's just whatever pops into your head, you can apply it. All right, so here's our answer key for that one. But for this one, I'm going to add into our mix of letters here a parenthesis. I'm also going to add letter C, and I'm going to add U. And if you have got ideas that are beyond these letters, try it out. You never know. I know one person liked to do S's, because with the S, you could also spin it around like we spun around a J. So now we're going to start with the center. I'm going to place a circle in the center so that my circle helps me have something to attach it to, because since I'm going to do more like a flower design, I want the circle to look like the center of a flower. So I'm going to take now my parenthesis, and I'm going to bring this one over this way and that way, this way and that way. And if you make a mistake, if you don't want to erase it, especially if you're doing this in marker, the best thing to do if you make a mistake is just make that mistake 4 times, and then it becomes an I meant to do it. All right, so now I've got a cool looking flower. I'm going to take the flower to be a little bit more full, but I don't want to just keep repeating this one on this anchor. So I'm going to put a C here, and all 4 sides around. I'm going to go back to my letter O on the edge of that one, and I'm going to add more to it by putting a big letter U that hits the edge, and another one over here that hits the edge. And remember, if you want to keep track of what spots are part of which crisscross, putting a little bit extra on the outside will help you keep your eyes identifying which crisscross belongs to which. All right, so now I've got this design here, and I want to make it a little bit more interesting too. So again, if you repeat the shape, it always looks a little more interesting. So now I've got an interesting looking flower, and I think I'm going to go to my good old favorite J and spiral it around like part of the vine that would come off of flowers. I could totally see this being red with a yellow center and some green leaves and making it look like a poinsettia flower. These would be great on Christmas ornament designs or Easter egg designs if you made your shape look a little bit more eggish. I could see totally a Christmas or an Easter egg. So radial symmetry can lend itself to all sorts of decorating tips too. Now, before we end, I want to show you what you can do by thinking outside the circle. Now, since we already have our little anchor spots there, what if we took a shape, and I'll put my anchor spots on those too. I should have done that in the beginning. And I'm going to put a fancier letter V that hits that one, and I'm going to go all the way around 8 times with this fancy letter V to give it that flower-like point on the edge of it. There we go. And now I can even do some more. So let's see, what could I do with this one? I'm going to do just a parenthesis there, 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 and there. Now I've got 4 done. And I think I'm going to quit right here because I know that everybody's going to be anxious to get started on their own designs. But before we stop, I want to share with you some designs that are made by 4th grade students who are 9 and 10 years old. And I want you to see what a little bit of effort and a little time could do. This is one 4th grade student. Isn't that amazing? And here's another one. So this one is, I'd say, a star-ish flower because it looks like a flower on the inside and then a star on the outside. And this one really looks like a star. And I like these little wavy edges that turn into flowers. Now this one's not symmetrical in all 4 directions, but look at the cool designs that came out of it. So it's different from side to side than from top to bottom, but the design's so cool. So it doesn't always have to be radial symmetry. And here's another one. I don't think I could have ever thought of that. And some of the important things that I would look at on this one are that they repeated a little simple wavy triangle. It came up with great designs. So leaving a big empty space there was a little boring, so she wanted to add some more to it. So like I said, these are just 4th grade students who took a little time, and they also added so much. Now, if you want to stay within your circle, there are some really cool ideas that you could come up with. So here's some more, and some more, and some more. And maybe you could come up with something that's more unique than anything anyone else could have possibly thought of. Good luck and have fun with some radial symmetry.